And welcome, guys. Welcome to the session here with me, Kevin. Thank you very much, guys, for joining the Big Campaign Session 3. Right, guys. So, hello, hi, Muhammad Latif. Good to see you as well. Right. So, we are going to basically get started into the session here. Hello, Fariza. Good to see you. Right. Hi, Esther. Right. Good to see everyone here. Great, guys. So, as you all know, any question that you would like to ask needs to be asked in the question section, right? And kindly take note because this is not a customer support channel. So basically, there is no one here who can help you with the problem, but we will basically give you as much information to actually assist you in guiding you, on where you can go to, right? And also for the slides, guys, at the end of my class, only will you get the slides, right? Please don't ask for the slides before the class ends because we're not allowed to give the slides before that. And also, guys, take note that for the class rules today, everybody has to kind of make sure that no one is rude or using threats or profanities, okay? That's just the basic ground rules that we go with, right? So today we're going to teach you what big campaigns are in terms of customer service. So we're going to go very much deeper into those two topics. First off, customer service. And the next one is also exposure, because we think that a lot of people can't actually, see or get actually exposure, right? So please do look into those two things as well, okay? So now, guys, what we're going to do basically is we want to kind of take you through the customer service section first. Okay. So in terms of customer service here, what we want to actually cover here is the chat response rate. And I understand this is very important to a lot of you. In fact, many of you do ask, about the customer, response rate, by when should I get back to someone, how, or, when should I do this, all these type of things, right? It's always it's usually a common thing that's usually asked, correct? So, in the event, so what you would typically want to do is you want to look at two areas, okay? So the first thing that you want to look at is, guys, is your chat performance, right, high or is it low? So if your chat performance is low, that tells you that when you are responding to your customers, it might need some improvement, right? So what you want to do, guys, is first off is there are two areas. Shopee looks at the 12-hour period. So if let's say you are actually getting back to one of your buyers and it is after the 12-hour period, that means Shopee will register that as after 12 hours, and that's going to reduce it's going to basically make your chat response performance go down. So that's not what you want. So what you want is, guys, you want to make sure that you are always answering all your chats within the 12-hour period, because that is essentially, that's super important, right, guys? So please go there and always make sure that you check that as well, right? Now, one of the other things that we typically also see basically is we do want to also look into, the calculation. So the calculation of when this happens is usually 90 days of your store, right? 90 days of your store. So what actually happens is if you're having your chat response rate not very good, this could mean because the early days when you started to do this, your chat response rate actually went down. And that's one of the problems, okay? So what you want to do to actually overcome this is actually give some time and then it will get better. But make sure that you are responding to all the chats within the 12-hour period, right? Because if you do that, then it is basically going to help very much. Okay, right? So that's actually very, very, very important. So we just want to kind of highlight a few of these things, right? So one of the things, right, basically that you also want to also look into, right, after that is the response effect of your chat broadcast. Now, many of you might be using your chat broadcast, yes? Okay, so when you use your chat broadcast, okay, now the first few things when you use your chat broadcast, right, we do want to tell you there are 3 ways, there are 3 things. So the first one is, if a buyer is not a seller, right, and this is where another seller sends a broadcast to a receiver, right? So a buyer that receives a broadcast, right, usually they're unaffected. But when a buyer replies to a chat broadcast, then a seller must respond within 12 hours. That is very important, okay? Now, D, for buyers who are also sellers, but they have used auto replies, nothing wrong with using auto replies, okay? The thing is, auto replies do not help chat response rates. I repeat that, guys, right? Remember this. Auto reply does not help your chat response rate. A lot of the times, a lot of sellers actually believe that the auto reply is there, so they don't need to answer the buyer. Unfortunately, auto replies are created only to buy time. What do I mean by that? So let's just say someone went over to your shop at maybe 12 a.m. and at 12 a.m. you're probably sleeping, am I right? So let's say you're sleeping, but you've put a very nice auto reply message, correct? Now in that auto reply message, few things happen. You're probably going to say, hi, we're not able to be here with you right now, but our store opens again tomorrow, maybe 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and we will get back to you within that time. So that is not, okay, counted in your chat response at all. So what it means is it's only going to buy you time enough so that the next day, right, the next day, you will still need, within 12 hours, you will still need to reply this person. Then only will your chat response rate actually be taken into account. Okay, right? This is very, very important. Okay, so guys, do take note, right, of how to do this as well. Okay, now a few other things that we do want to also highlight here is this, guys. The buyer is, let's say, in type C. So if let's say a buyer is also a seller, okay, let's say a buyer is also a seller, right? So let's say the auto reply is off, okay? So the receiver of the replies to the seller's broadcast, okay? So what happens here? The buyer receives broadcast, no auto reply, and the buyer must basically just wait for his or her reply. But then this is where it gets a bit tricky, because the buyer and the seller basically, are doing 2 things, okay? And as you know, 80% of our buyers, 80% of our sellers are buyers. So this is where, if you are getting a message as a seller yourself, and I know you're going to ask this question, that's why I want to kind of answer this for you. Surely you are a seller, but people don't know that. There are other sellers who still look at you as a buyer. You receive a message and now you're asking, Kevin, do I need to respond to this message or will it affect my chat response? So this is the answer, guys. If you receive a chat broadcast message from another seller, okay, it means that you are now justified as a buyer. You do not need to reply back to the message broadcast to this particular seller who sent you this. Okay, right? So far, everyone understands that's a very important thing. I think a lot of sellers kind of mistake that and you don't know what to do. So I do hope, right, you guys are actually paying attention or taking notes, because this is very important. This is essential to your success of chat response rate, guys. So if you now being a seller and you respond to this particular message, right? So you respond to the seller.